So the first gate is to arrive at learning at the appropriate level of autonomic arousal. Clear and focused is best, but don't obsess over being right there. It's okay to be a little anxious or a little bit tired. Then you want to make errors. We talked about that. And this vestibular motor sensory relationship is absolutely key if you want to get heightened or accelerated plasticity. And we talked about another feature, which is setting a contingency. If there's a reason, an important reason for you to actually learn, even if you're making failures, the learning will be accelerated. So there's really 4 things that you really need to do for plasticity as an adult. And I would say that these also apply to young people. And there's an interesting kind of thought experiment there as well, which is if you look at children, they are moving a lot in different dimensions. You know, they are sometimes hanging from trees, or, you know, my sports were always things where I tended to get hurt a lot, fall a lot. So it was skateboarding for me when I was younger. So a lot of falling and rolling and various things of that sort. But whatever sport the kids are playing, or even if they don't play a sport, they tend to move in a lot of different relationships to gravity, more dimensionality to their movements, I should say, than adults. And one of the questions that's always kind of been in the back of my mind is, you know, as we age, we get less good at engaging in neuroplasticity. Part of that is because as the brain ages, there are certain changes to the way that neurons are structured, their molecular components, et cetera. But it's kind of a self-amplifying, or I should say a self-degenerating cycle where as we get older, we tend to get more linear and more regular about specific kinds of movement. So we get on the treadmill, or we take the walk, or we just always go up the same stairs, et cetera. And there's less opportunity typically for engaging these relationships to the gravitational pull through the vestibular motor sensory convergence that we talked about a moment ago. And so you sort of have to wonder whether or not the lack of plasticity or the reduced plasticity in older individuals, which includes me, would reflect the fact that those chemicals aren't being deployed because we're not engaging in certain behaviors, as opposed to we can't engage in the behaviors because the chemicals aren't being, not what I'm talking about here. But it's interesting to think about the sorts of exercise that we engage in. We all know that getting the heart rate elevated 3 to 5 times a week is really good for us for cardiovascular health. I think there's a ton of data to support that now. Some load-bearing exercise is important for increasing bone density and maintaining muscular strength and proprioceptive feedback, because I'm sure many of you know this, but resistance exercise actually trains the nerve-to-muscle connections as much as it does the muscles themselves, something I talked about at the beginning of the episode.